Chris, thanks for joining us today. What are some of the key regulatory considerations that impact local workforce strategy?
Well, firstly, we are very proud to represent our industry and our workers in consulting with government on these matters. Recently in the UK, what we've seen is the agency workers regulations, which is all about driving pay parity for temporary workers. That's been in place for 2 years now, and whilst we had some initial activity complying with that as an industry, that is generally where we are today. Clients and agencies are generally complying with that and having to take the cost that has arisen out of the AWR, as it's known. The other regulation that's come in recently is pension auto-enrollment, and this is very much in its early phases. So this is also being staggered, so the big employers are having to be compliant with these regulations to start with, and then across the next couple of years, smaller employers will have to work with these regulations. For low volume users of contingent workers, we are anticipating minimal impact. For high volume users, we anticipate a cost impact of around about 60 to 90 basis points. Recently, we've also seen a review of IR35 that resulted in no changes. We've seen some review of the conduct of business regulations and also the TUPE regulations. That's resulted in some changes, but minor. But what's on the radar screen is an act that is potentially all about minimizing the loss of taxes and national insurance contributions from offshore organizations. And what that might lead to is some liability for the primary intermediary agency in the supply chain, and that'll be called under the Offshore Employment Intermediaries Act, which will come into force during the course of 2014. So we continue to monitor these regulations, consult with government, and in turn advise and inform our clients on developments.
So Chris, has there been an increased inclusion of SOW workers into MSP programs across the region, and why?
There is definitely a growing trend of SOW inclusion under programs, much in the wake of MSP generally coming over from the US to Europe. We're now seeing SOW coming in under these programs, largely because what we're seeing in the UK are clients that have now got good control of their contingent workforce costs. What we're seeing is a trend by the hiring managers in those organizations to bring in resources through other means into the organization under SOW. So what we see in the center, i.e. procurement, is a desire to start controlling this moving spend. It's like squeezing a balloon. You squeeze the balloon on one side and it pops up on the other side. So they're trying to, now they've got this control over contingent workforce spend over here, and it's making the bubble of SOW grow. So it's kind of defeating the object. You're just moving the wooden dollars around. So they now want to bring in the control over this SOW spend. So there's definitely this trend toward it, but it's very much in its early stages, and we can, of course, through our programs, help our clients control this SOW spend.
So Chris, just finally, I want to ask you, how does an MSP add value to the hiring process of organizations impacted by aging workforce and talent shortage considerations?
Great question. These are, of course, very topical trends, and in the future, the trends will be different. So the true value of a solution is to make sure it's flexible and agile and can help with all parts of the life cycle for a worker, whilst also at the same time balancing the cost, efficiency, risk and quality equation. Now, what does this look like then? So the tactics within the program might include supplier rationalization, or indeed it might include adding a niche supplier to provide access to some rare talent. Offshore and onshore solutions, work package and SOW solutions, of course, will help clients with some of the changing conditions. The art most certainly is to keep adapting to those changing conditions.